All right, let's get into a story that seriously went viral and for good reason. It's this chilling tale from back in the year 2000, and it kind of walks this razor-thin line between a full-on supernatural horror story and a psychological breakdown that might be even scarier. It all boils down to one simple but pretty unsettling question.
Seriously, what if the absolute terror you were feeling, the monsters you were running from, what if all of it was just a ghost, created entirely inside your own head? Just keep that thought in mind as we hit the road for this one.
So our story kicks off on this really infamous stretch of American highway. I mean, this road had a reputation so bad its nickname alone would make you think twice before ever using it as a shortcut. Yep, that's the one. US Route 666, also known, of course, as the Devil's Number. The name and the stories got so dark that officials literally had to change the highway's number, just hoping people would forget its history. But you know how it is. The legends, they stuck around. And oh man, what legends they were. We're talking stories of travelers just vanishing. Poof, gone without a trace. There were reports of drivers suddenly being hit with this wave of inexplicable madness. Police stations were just flooded with missing person cases, all tied to this one road. Some people straight up called it a hell gate, a one-way ticket. And the very few who supposedly made it out alive, they were never the same, just plagued by some serious psychological trauma. So you have to ask, who in their right mind would drive down this road? Well, let's meet our crew. You've got Rohit and his girlfriend Trisha, and their two good friends, Gaurav and Ananya. The year is 2000. All four of them just graduated, and they're celebrating with one last big road trip together, driving from Colorado to check out the supposedly haunted forests in Arizona. You know how these things start. The trip is going great. The music's blasting, everyone's laughing, just soaking in that open road freedom. But pretty soon, a little bit of youthful impatience puts them at a fork in the road, and a choice that is going to change absolutely everything.
They hit a total wall of traffic. The main highway has turned into a glorified parking lot. But then they spot it. An escape. An alternate route, totally empty. The GPS promises it'll shave off a whole 45 minutes. And what road is it? You guessed it, US Route 666.
Rohit's the one driving, and he makes the call. They're taking the shortcut. But the second he turns onto that empty highway, something weird happens. All the cars they just left behind start laying on their horns. Not like they're angry, but like they're trying to desperately warn them about something. Of course, they just laugh it off and keep going.
Okay, now here is where the story gets really interesting. As they're cruising along, Ananya suddenly remembers something a professor told her once about this exact road. It's at a super high altitude, which, for some people, can trigger some serious psychological effects, up to and including really vivid hallucinations. A pretty critical piece of info, right? They all just laugh it off. Well, that laughter doesn't last long. The fun, carefree road trip is about to turn into a desperate, terrifying fight for their lives. It's like the road itself has decided to fight back.
First, the music on the radio starts to crackle, then it just goes dead silent. Gaurav starts messing with the dial, and suddenly it locks onto channel 6.6. A voice, this chilling, calm voice, cuts through the static. It's talking right to them, welcoming them to the highway and then promising them a painful death. The instant that voice stops, the car just sputters and dies. Smoke starts pouring out from under the hood. They're stranded. When they climb out, they see they've stopped right beside a mile marker. Mile 13, and it's smeared with something that looks way too much like blood. And then Rohit looks at his own license plate. The numbers, they've somehow changed. It now reads 666.
Yeah, so panic is definitely setting in. They all scramble back into the car, which now feels less like a car and more like a trap. What else could possibly happen? And right on cue, that voice comes back on the radio, even colder this time. It calmly announces that the first round of its little game is about to start.
Almost immediately, Trisha starts to hyperventilate. She's gasping, saying she can't breathe, begging Rohit to just stop the car. Gaurav is screaming at him, "Don't do it, it's a trap!" But Rohit can't stand to see his girlfriend suffer, so he pulls over. Trisha stumbles out, and the fresh air actually seems to help. But as she kind of wanders behind the car to catch her breath, a pair of headlights just blaze out of the darkness. A massive truck from absolutely nowhere comes tearing down the road and hits her. Just gone, instantly.
The radio crackles back on. Round 2 will begin shortly. They're completely devastated, terrified, and they're forced to leave Trisha's body on the side of the road and just flee. They get the car started and drive, but pretty soon they realize the fuel gauge is on empty. This road is not done with them.
They have to abandon the car and just start running for their lives. Then they hear it again, that same terrifying truck horn. They whip around to look, but the road behind them is completely empty. It's a phantom. Gaurav, trying to be the brave one, runs back to make sure. He yells to them, "It's clear, there's nothing here." And in that exact second, the same truck appears, but this time from the direction they were running towards, and it just mows him down.
Now it's just Rohit and Ananya, completely terror-stricken. Rohit yells at her to run, to just get away. As he turns, he sees the truck's headlights bearing down on him. He squeezes his eyes shut, just waiting for the impact, and then everything just stops.
Rohit's eyes snap open. He's not on the cold road. He's in the driver's seat of his car, which is parked safely on the shoulder. He looks around, totally panicked. And there's Trisha, and there's Gaurav, and there's Ananya, all of them, completely safe, just staring at him, looking concerned. The entire horrific nightmare, it never actually happened.
So remember what Ananya said about the altitude? Well, it turns out that right after they pulled onto Route 666, Rohit had started complaining about a really bad headache. He told his friends he was just going to pull over and close his eyes for maybe 15 minutes. He was most likely suffering from a really fast onset of something called high-altitude cerebral edema, or HACE. His brain, literally affected by the altitude, cooked up a terrifying hyper-realistic hallucination.
And this is the part that is just so wild. I mean, think about it. What felt to him like hours of nonstop horror, watching his two best friends get brutally killed, being hunted, feeling totally hopeless, all of that was just a 15-minute nap. The scary legends they had just been laughing about became the literal script for his mind's own private horror movie.
As you can imagine, Rohit is completely shaken. He immediately starts the car, turns it around, and gets the heck off that highway, choosing the long, safe route instead. So you see, this story was never really about a haunted highway. It's about the absolutely terrifying power and potential of the human mind.
So really, what this story is telling us is that sometimes the scariest ghosts, the most horrifying monsters, they're not actually out there in the dark. They're locked up inside our own subconscious, just waiting for the right trigger, like fear or suggestion or even just a change in altitude to break free.
And it all leaves us with this final kind of haunting thought, doesn't it? Just how fragile is our grasp on reality? And under the right, or maybe the wrong, circumstances, could our own minds betray us and trap us in a nightmare that feels completely, terrifyingly real?